One until 2005, where you got your first release on Gigolo Records.
Yes, I started in roughly 2000, 2001. When I got to university school, one of my mates from school was using this software, very old, raw. It was actually a software that you could download for free from the internet. It was called Escuela Buzz, B-U-Z-Z. And for that time, it was a pretty complex software to produce music with. And he just taught me, he showed me the basic steps, the basic things, just to make it sound. And then it really got me like a virus. So I spent so much time on it, trying to discover new things, and I was pretty much learning and discovering everything by myself because there was nobody to show me anything on it, and there were no tutorials about it on the internet. You couldn't find anything about it, so it was just me, just trial and error, trying to make it work and to. It was very, very rough times. I didn't know anything about producing and didn't know anything about this software. So it took me 3-4 years until I got my first finished tracks, and then I sent them to some labels. And to my surprise, Gigolo Records was one of the labels who gave me a good feedback, so I had my first release on Gigolo in 2005. So it took a while until I got there.
Well, it was quite the adventure.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it was, and at that time I remember Gigolo was one of my favorite labels, so it was a huge honor for me. It was a really big thing for me to release there.
Okay, I'll go ahead and translate some of this. Bueno, lo que estábamos hablando recién es sobre cuando él empezó a hacer música en el 2001 y nos estaba comentando que al principio, como no había internet y no había tutoriales y nadie que le explique, fue como un momento en el que él tuvo que hacer todo desde cero, salvo con un programa que se llamaba Buzz, que le enseñó a usar un amigo, y de ahí era todo bastante intuitivo y empezar a probar, prueba y error, ver qué sonaba bien, qué no sonaba bien. Y a partir de ahí, bueno, empezar como toda una curva de aprendizaje que creo que muchos de nosotros, los que hacemos música hace bastante, estuvimos un poco ahí como aprendiendo por uno mismo, siendo autómata de alguna manera, y fue hasta el 2005 que Gigolo, que se mostró interesado en sus tracks y ahí pudo firmar con ellos. So, now, tell us a bit about your musical background. What are your influences? Always in production, right? Always when making music. What drives you to make music? What do you hear? What do you listen to? What music do you like?
When I was a kid, I was a huge fan of the band Queen. I had all their albums, all their releases. I mean, almost all their releases. And then in the early 90s, I got into this rave, the German rave sound, which was basically a mixture between techno and trance, fast BPM and very cheesy music actually. Later on, in the mid-90s, I discovered Detroit techno. That was through the X-Mix series, the mix CDs, the X-Mix. And that's how I got into the real underground electronic music, the cult one.
Okay, so it was mainly through Detroit techno.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
And after that, I got into electro techno, electro clash, old school electro, all the gigolo sound. From the early 2000s. But at the same time, I also like rock music or hip hop basically I like music in general. There's no music style that I don't like. Every music style has something good, and if you love electronic music, you should love music in general. I think it's very important to have a nice and solid background and to listen to all sorts of music in general.
Yeah, it's not the media, it's the music. It's all about the music, not the media. Bueno, él empezó, bueno, de chico le gustaba Queen y le gustaban bandas más acústicas. Y lo que nos estaba contando recién es que un poco de cómo comenzó a escuchar música electrónica, que fue a partir de las raves de los 90, que después empezó y descubrió el techno de Detroit, y ahí se fue interesando más y se fue metiendo en el mundo de la música electrónica hasta llegar a la corriente de techno de lo que hace Gigolo y DJ Hell, que es como un techno bastante particular. What was it like to work with DJ Hell?
I only met him a few times, maybe 2-3 times. So working with him, I can't really describe it. It was basically my contact was to Gigolo with his label manager and stuff like that. So a lot of people say that DJ Hell is a pretty difficult person, and I don't know what to say about this. I guess some of it is true, but I can't really tell because, as I told you, I didn't have that much direct contact with him.
Okay. Now, talking about Gigolo, what was the first approach? Did you send them your music? Did you find out who was the A&R? I think this is good advice for young producers to know how to approach a label.
Yeah, for sure it is. At that time, Gigolo Records had a website, and on their website there was a demo section. They would tell you how to send your demo. They were accepting demos on CDs or cassettes at that time. There was an address, a postal address, so I posted 5 or 6 tracks. I burned them on CD and I sent them the CD. And a few days later, a few weeks later, when the CD got there, DJ Hell replied me, sent me an email, and he said that he was interested in one of the tracks for one of the Gigolo Records compilations, and asked me to send him more music if I had something new. So I sent him some more, and then after that track on the compilation, I had also a vinyl out.
Okay, that's good. Bueno, estábamos hablando un poco. ¿Cuántos hacen música de los que están aquí? Levanten la mano. Ah, bueno, somos todos. Bueno, básicamente el proceso a través del cual entró a Gigolo, que es mandar el demo, darles tiempo a que lo escuchen, y una vez que lo escucharon le tiraron una buena respuesta, le pidieron más música para el compilado y un par de tracks más que justamente tenía, entonces se los mandó, y ahí despertó todo el interés y fue donde empezó a despegar. How were you influenced by the Romanian sound? If there are any influences, what do you think of the actual Romanian sound? What do you think about the Romanian culture in general, as far as influences?
Actually, the Romanian sound was how should I say, was born pretty recently. I mean, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I should say. So at that time when it emerged, I was already on my way music-wise, so it didn't influence me much. But I have a great deal of respect to it because it's really something unique, I think. And of course, in some of my productions, I have this influences from the so-called Romanian sound or the Romanian techno, but it's not a major influence, actually.
No, it's something that's good that I hear in your tracks is the repetition. How you deal with repetition and subtle changes, and that's pretty good. That's pretty amazing the way you work that out.
Yeah, I like long building tracks with a very slight build up, and I like this hypnotic feel of a track to make it groovy, and just maybe some subtle changes into it, not to make it boring, but I don't know, for somebody who doesn't know much about electronic music and who listens to a track for the first time, it may sound like an endless loop, you know, like nothing changes, but actually there are small things that change and make you interested for the whole 7 minutes or how long the track is.
Ok, bueno, estábamos hablando un poco sobre Rumania. Vieron que ahora hay como toda una especie de movimiento de sonido rumano, como lo llamábamos recién, que queda en manos siempre de unos jóvenes productores. Tenemos a Praslea, a Raresh, a Grubesh, bueno, hay un par que están trabajando con eso hace bastante. Si bien vienen del mismo lugar, a él no lo influenció tanto porque es como que cuando empezó todo este nuevo movimiento él ya tenía su sonido ya armado y va por otro lado, pero aún así se mantiene una cuestión de la repetición que es como bastante clásica, con movimientos sutiles como para mantenerlo entretenido y que no sea aburrido. Aún así, para una persona que no escucha música electrónica puede llegar a ser un poco raro, pero es lo que funciona y lo que él trata de mantener un groove que sea estable pero con cambios. What tips do you have, production tips, if you had to give any for maintaining a good groove and something and to keep people interested in a track?
There are no tips, there are no rules, no. It's just practice, that's all. Just practice. Spend a lot of time in the studio, listen to a lot of music, and that's it. Just like in any other domain, it's just practice. As the more you practice, the better you get, that's all.
Ok, bueno, es como todo, ¿no? Hay que sentarse, hacer música y pasar mucho tiempo. De la única manera en la que se va a mejorar es practicando, no hay soluciones mágicas. Entonces, básicamente no hay un consejo en particular, sino sentarse y ponerse a practicar y hacer música. What can you tell us about the Hermannstadt collective with Jay Bliss? How was their experience? I know you're no longer with it, right?
Sorry?
Are you still working with Jay Bliss? No, not that much.
Not that much, because he moved to Bucharest and I still live in our home city in Sibiu, in Romania. Me and Jay Bliss, we knew each other for a long time, from when we were in high school or something. So we somehow grew up musically together. He was a DJ at this resident club he was a resident DJ in this club in my city, and basically that's how we met. And because we shared the same passion for music, we decided to try something out together, to work together and do some music together. And at some point we also lived together, because we both had to leave our home. We had big fights with our parents because of music, and because we were not focusing on our studies, and because we were, just following this musical dream, which to our parents was a complete waste of time. So we had to leave home and move together, rent an apartment, and take life on our own. No jobs, no no problem.
You have to go out there and live, and that's it.
Yeah, and this is how the project started. After we moved together, we said, okay, now we have to make the best out of this, and we have to do our best and focus as much as we can on music, because there's no other chance, there's no other choice. We choose this path, we have to go for it 100%. And we spent a lot of time together doing music. We sent out some demos, had some releases out, and yeah, that's the story of Hermannstadt Collective.
Where did you get releases on?
We released on Immigrant Music, which was a UK label. It doesn't exist anymore. We released on Hard Tracks, another UK label, a house label. We had other releases, but not under Hermannstadt Collective, but under our own names, Mihai, Popoviciu and Jay Bliss on Dynamic or Momentum. So yeah, we had a few out.
Did you decide at what point that it was better to use your own names instead of the Hermannstadt Collective?
Actually, this was the suggestion of the labels where we released, because at that time my name was kind of known in the industry, and he had also some solo releases, and the labels thought that using our real names was a better marketing move. It would attract more attention, because Hermannstadt Collective, nobody knew about Hermannstadt Collective. It was something completely new, so the labels thought, okay, maybe it's better to use your own names to get more exposure for the tracks, for the releases.
Ok. Bueno, recién estábamos hablando sobre el Hermannstadt Collective, que es un proyecto que él tenía con Jay Bliss. Básicamente comenzó como comienza todo, ¿no? Se fueron a vivir juntos, empezaron a hacer música, le metieron pilas para adelante. Obviamente tuvieron que irse de sus casas porque sus padres no estaban muy de acuerdo, como todos nuestros viejos por ahí quieren que todos hagan una carrera y no se la pasen haciendo música. Bueno, entonces fue donde decidieron irse, empezaron a trabajar juntos, y lo que pasó, que es curioso, después de varios releases, es que los sellos les empezaron a recomendar que trabajen bajo sus nombres en vez de Hermannstadt Collective, porque los dos ya tenían una buena carrera y es como que iban a traer muchísimo más cosas, y a nivel de marketing era mucho mejor trabajar con sus propios nombres. Entonces ahí fue donde dejaron de usar el Hermannstadt Collective. Now, marketing wise, is there any advice you could give the young producers about how to market their tracks, or
I think the first thing you have to do is find a good name for your project. Either you use your real name, or you find I don't know, a name of the project, but you have to take care of this, because it's not a good idea to change it in the future. So don't choose a cheesy name, don't choose a very common name or a bad name. Just try to think of something interesting and stick to it. I remember when my first release on Gigolo was about to come out, I had another name in my mind. And just before it came out, I switched my mind and I said, oh, I don't want to use this name. I thought it was stupid. And I told DJ Hell, okay, I want to use my real name for it. My real name is not very easy for a lot of people. A lot of people pronounce my name in 1,000 ways. So it's not the best name for a producer or for a DJ, but it's my own name. So I made that decision some time ago, and then I stick to it. But it's very important to have a good name behind you. Either you use your real name if it doesn't sound too funny, or just find a good name for your project.
Did you ever stop to think about what would have happened if you didn't make the decision to use your real name and you had used the other name?
I don't know, maybe. Actually, the initial project name was Laser Cream, which is pretty nonsense. So I don't know if it was good or bad, but you can't go wrong with your real name. I mean, it's your real name. What can you do about it?
Exactly. That's it. Ok, bueno. Estamos hablando un poco sobre el nombre y cómo eso de repente puede afectar un poco desde el costado del marketing a las carreras, ¿no? Y hay algo que pasa, porque a mí me ha pasado que yo he cambiado el nombre de productor 3 veces y la verdad que en ningún momento funcionó hasta que empecé a usar mi nombre real. Lo que él decía era algo parecido. Cuando estuvo a punto de sacar su release por Gigolo, iba a usar otro nombre que era Laser Cream. Okay. Y ahí fue donde tomó la decisión de, en vez de usar ese alias, empezar a usar su nombre verdadero, que si bien puede ser complicado para mucha gente pronunciarlo y le puede sonar raro, al fin y al cabo es el nombre real y es lo que mejor le resultó. Entonces, básicamente el consejo es que traten de, a la hora de elegir un nombre, o usar su nombre real si están conformes, y si no, tratar de usar un buen nombre que no quieran cambiar en el largo plazo, porque la idea sería que se queden que el nombre es lo que mejor les va a funcionar, es el nombre original de cada uno. Ok, ¿alguno tiene alguna pregunta que quieran hacer? Sí, dale. Si usa Ableton, los efectos. He wants to know if you use Ableton's native effects.
Yeah, most of them. I only use maybe one reverb that's not from Ableton, and sometimes a delay effect that is out of Ableton. The rest is all Ableton effects.
Okay, do you think they sound good? They're pretty good, I believe.
You can always get better, but the ones from Ableton are just doing the job, and for me it's good enough.
Perfecto, bueno, esto es un poco para... A veces a algunos nos pasa que nos pasamos toda la vida buscando plugins y de repente te quedas con que tenés 500 plugins y terminas usando siempre los mismos. Un poco con los de Ableton es que siempre se puede sacar un buen sonido y siempre se puede conseguir algo mejor, pero los plugins nativos le funcionan bastante bien y es lo que él usa a la hora de hacer música. Now, back to your career. When did you meet Steve Bug? And tell us a bit about Poker Flat and your releases in Poker Flat.
In 2013, to my surprise and to my big honor, Steve Bug wrote me an email asking me for music to release on Poker Flat. And of course it was a big surprise for me, and I was really happy about it. And so I did a few tracks that were done especially for Poker Flat label. It was like targeted exactly for Poker Flat, and I sent him the tracks, and he was very happy about them. And actually he released all the tracks that I sent him on Poker Flat and on Dessous, his one of his other labels. Then last year I met him for the first time in London at a Poker Flat showcase. Very nice guy, very friendly. So yeah.
He was here just last week.
I know.
Last Friday, okay. Bueno, estamos hablando un poco sobre Poker Flat, ¿no? De cómo Steve Bug le mandó un mail, un día lo contactó para que le pase música y le armó varios tracks que iban a sonar específicamente para Poker Flat, y por suerte entró todo. Entonces estaba como bastante contento y bastante sorprendido. A ver, les mando un mail a Steve Bug pidiéndoles música, es algo que hay que hacer. Do you believe that making music do you believe it's good to target your music before sending out to the label, or of course it's better to target your music for a certain label after you get asked for the music, but do you think it affects the workflow if you're constantly thinking about where to send your music, or if you're making music for, I don't know, maybe High Grade or another label?
It's not necessary to focus your production for a special label, but you just have to make sure that when you send a demo to the label, the music that you send them would fit their sound profile, because on Cyclic Records, for example, the label that I take care of, I get a lot of demos, and some of them just have nothing to do with what I release on Cyclic. So it's very important to be sure that your music could fit the label where you send the demo. Don't just produce 4 or 5 tracks and then just randomly send them to 100 labels. Just send them to the labels where you really think your sound could fit.
Perfecto, bueno, la pregunta era relacionada, como hablábamos antes, que Poker Flat le había pedido música y él hizo música específicamente para Poker Flat. Lo que le pregunté un poco es si cree que hay que hacer música pensando con un sello en mente y después mandarla a ese sello, o si a veces es mejor no tener tanto eso en cuenta. Y bueno, y definitivamente la cuestión es que si bien no tienen que enfocarse en hacer música para un sello en especial, sí tienen que asegurarse de que la música que le van a mandar al sello sea la apropiada. A él le pasa a veces con Cyclic Records, que es el sello que él tiene, que le pasan música que no tiene nada que ver con el sello. Entonces, eso ahí a veces es como una pérdida de tiempo. Tell us about Cyclic Records. When did it start and how do you run it? Are there a lot of people involved or is it just you?
I started the label in 2012. We just had our 3 years anniversary in February. And yes, I do everything on Cyclic Records. I listen to demos, I do the promo mail-outs, I take care of the graphic design with a close friend of mine. So yeah, I do everything.
Do you also master the tracks? Do you get sent?
No. This is one thing I want to really study more about and to focus on in the future, mastering. Mm-hmm. But at the moment, I think I'm not good enough for that, and I would better let the professional people take care of it instead of claiming that I'm a mastering guru or something. Yeah, the label is mainly focused on young, new producers, and because I think it's always good to give a chance to the young, talented producers, and there are so many out there, I tell you. And I remember when I first sent demos out to labels, the problem is with a lot of labels is that even if the music you send them is good, they won't sign you because you're nobody, because they have never heard about you, and they're more focused on more established producers, because that would give them more sales and more exposure. But for me, it's only the music that matters, so I don't care if your name is in the top 10 or you just produced your first track last week. I don't care about that. If I like the music, I release it.
As long as it sounds good, that's okay. Okay. Bueno, esto es un poco lo que nos contaba, es cómo maneja el su sello, que él hace de todo salvo el mastering, ¿sí? Porque considera que todavía tiene que ponerse un poco en profundidad. Y que el sello funciona más que nada como una plataforma para nuevos talentos, ¿no? Para gente joven que está haciendo música, que recién arranca, which was very different from when you started. You didn't have this chance to have a platform for young producers to listen to your music and
Gigolo, to my luck, was one of the labels which was just like that. They would release acts that nobody knew about. So, but at the moment, I think there are very few labels who still do that. Most of the higher profile labels focus on higher profile producers to release.
Sí, bueno, ahí seguíamos un poco la línea de su sello. Dice que hay veces hay muchos sellos que se enfocan en artistas que por ahí ya están más establecidos y no le dan tantas oportunidades a artistas más jóvenes. No importa si la música es mejor o es peor, hay muchos sellos que prefieren que un artista tenga nombre, que chartee, que tenga un top 10, en donde fuera, y ya con eso les alcanza. Después por ahí la música no es tan buena, no pasa nada. El sello de él lo que él trata de hacer es darle la oportunidad a la gente que por ahí no tiene tanto nombre a que pueda construir ese nombre, y se enfoca más en la calidad musical, en que la música esté buena y no tanto en si tienen algún top o no tienen algún top. ¿Alguno quiere hacer otra pregunta? ¿Hasta acá?
I started producing because it was very hard at that time in Romania to be a DJ. The clubbing culture was almost non-existent at that time, so I couldn't have access to vinyl records, or all the technical equipment was, I couldn't have access to that, not even to learning how to use them. So I tried to fulfill my passion for music by producing. DJing was pretty much out of the question. I didn't have access to, and there was no culture for DJing at that time in Romania anyway. No, it was both. I mean, I couldn't. Of course, later on, when things got a bit more developed in Romania in this regard about electronic music, I could also start pick up DJing, but I couldn't say that I like DJing more than producing or the other way around. I really love them both, so I couldn't choose between these.
La pregunta estaba relacionada a si cuando empezó como DJ o como productor, ¿verdad? Lo que le estaba explicando recién es que como en ese momento no había una escena muy desarrollada en Rumania, empezó más tirado para la producción, que era donde él se sentía más cómodo y donde tenía más recursos. Conforme fue pasando el tiempo, también tuvo la oportunidad de empezar a tocar más, donde se fue desarrollando un poco más la escena, pero que no hay una cuestión de preferencia, sino que le encantan las dos cosas por igual. Simplemente fue una cuestión de recursos y una cuestión de cómo estaba la escena en un principio. Básicamente es eso. Now, let's talk a little bit about High Grade. Do you work with High Grade besides as a label and an agency, right?
Yes.
They take care of your bookings.
Yeah.
Now, tell us, I don't know, maybe some advantages of working with an agency versus working by yourself.
I never worked by myself, but I think in the beginning, you could work by yourself, but later on, when you get more famous or something, you really can't do that, because you have to take care of so many things. Just sending emails up and down with the promoter and all the flights and all the travel itineraries. It's just, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I'm sure you couldn't do that by yourself. But in the beginning, yes, it could work. You could fix your own gigs and take care of everything by yourself. But after that, when you reach a certain level, you simply cannot take care of this anymore. It's just too complicated, it takes too much time, and you have to have somebody else to take care of this.
Yeah, promotion and marketing is just tough. It's tough work.
I'm not referring to promotion and marketing, just booking, just
the bookings.
Just the bookings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, bueno, la idea es que dice que en un principio tal vez uno se pueda encargar de hacer los bookings y de estar haciendo música y de todo, pero acorde a uno va obteniendo nombre y va creciendo en su carrera. Dice que a él le parece que es necesario trabajar con una agencia, porque es tanto el trabajo que hay que hacer solo con los bookings, de mandar mail, de recibir, de estar en contacto con gente de acá para allá, que eso le quita mucho tiempo para estar haciendo música y hacer todo el tema de producción. Entonces, lo que sí recomienda es que en la medida que se puedan trabajar con una agencia. ¿Alguna pregunta? Bien, la pregunta es si llegaron a escuchar todos en el último release de Cyclic, estuvo Nacho Bolognani, que es un artista cordobés. Now, you met Nacho Bolognani,
Yeah.
which was featured in one of his latest releases in
Yeah.
Cyclic. Now, he wants to know what do you think of Nacho and how do you see the level of producers in Argentina?
Actually, I met Nacho personally very briefly in Berlin last year, I think. And a few months ago, he sent me these new tracks that he was doing. And so I chose one of his tracks, the one I thought it was best for the sound of the label, and released it. I think I don't know much about Argentinian producers. I know a few of them. Nacho is one of them. And yeah, I think there's a lot of potential, and you are here at the producing school, so for sure there will be more coming out from Argentina, for sure.
Okay. Bueno, dice que no conoce muchos productores argentinos, pero bueno, conoció a Nacho en Berlín brevemente, después Nacho le pasó música, agarró los tracks que más le gustaban para Cyclic, pero que más allá de no conocer muchos productores, dice que hay un muy buen nivel y que bueno, que también está la escuela y que es una herramienta para aprovechar y para seguir creciendo, para sacar buenos productores. ¿Alguna otra pregunta que tengan? ¿Cómo? Ah, ok. Claro. Bueno, la pregunta es si desde que él empezó a hacer música en el 2001 hasta que tuvo el primer lanzamiento grande en Gigoló, si durante ese tiempo tuvo dudas o se replanteó si lo que estaba haciendo estaba bien o quería ir para otro lado, ¿no? This is, we talked about it briefly in the car when we were coming. He wants to know if from the time you started making music in 2001 until you got your big release on Gigolo, if you hesitated about what you were doing or if you wanted to, I don't know, maybe quit music or do something else. What were your feelings at that time? How was it for you?
Well, at that time I was in university school, and to be honest, I completely neglected my school for music. I was not going to courses, I was not passing the exams and all this because of music, and I never gave up hope, and I was very ambitious about it, and yeah, it was a long process from the moment when I started my own sounds. But no, I never lost hope, and I never questioned if this was a good or bad for me. I just did it without thinking, really. I was just so focused and so passionate about it. I never thought about giving up or something like this. You have to be very ambitious with what you do, and in the end it will happen for sure.
Okay. Bueno, lo que dice es que durante todo ese tiempo que mientras él estaba estudiando no le daba mucha bola a la universidad, lo que estaba estudiando, sino que estaba más metido con la música. Y un poco tiene que ver con la perseverancia, como que no se lo planteaba mucho, simplemente hacía música, que es lo que le gustaba hacer, no tanto estudiar, no tanto otras cosas, sino seguir por ahí. La cuestión es que hay que ser ambicioso, el consejo de él que le puede dar, hay que ser ambicioso y perseverante, seguir haciendo lo que les gusta, que en algún momento les va a llegar. O sea, que sigan haciendo y que no se rindan, que en algún momento llega. ¿Alguno tiene otra pregunta? He wants to know if, for the mastering process, do you use just the Ableton whenever you master, right?
Yeah.
If you use just Ableton or if you use any other programs in particular, I don't know, maybe. I don't know Logic, but any other platform or plugins besides Ableton?
Yeah, well, actually, after I finish a track, before I want to test it out in the club, I do my own mastering, but it's just, I'm not a pro in mastering. This is what I want to study more and get better to it. So I just use this software that I'm sure you know, Isotopo. Yeah, and I just use the limiter of Isotopo, and I use some EQing and some compression from Ableton, and then I put that limiter from Isotope on top, and that's it.
Is it EQ first and then compression, or otherwise?
If I need some more EQing, yeah, EQ first, then a bit of compression and the limiter, and that's it.
Ok, bueno, además del Ableton, por ejemplo, el ecualizador que utiliza es el del Ableton, el compresor también, usa Isotope Zone, pero solo para limitar. Entonces a veces depende de lo que necesite el track, va a poner primero el ecualizador y después el compresor. Pero básicamente se maneja con los plugins nativos de Ableton, salvo el Ozone. Creo que por el fondo tenían otra pregunta. Ok, bueno, la pregunta va en torno a si él tiene un home studio, tiene un estudio profesional, y si no, ¿qué sería lo más importante para armar un home studio? He wants to know if you have a professional studio or if you have a home studio, and if not, what do you consider is the best for the home studio? I don't know, maybe monitoring or maybe the acoustic treatment, etc.
Well, I have a studio at home. It's not a studio, it's just the PC and 2 monitor speakers, and that is all. I don't have any hardware, no MIDI keyboard, nothing. It's just that it's very stripped down, so it's not actually a studio, it's a workstation if you want, and I have it at home. Of course, it's better to have a professional studio is always recommended if you can afford one or if you have access to one, but I prefer the comfort of producing whenever I want and producing at home. Yeah.
Do you then take your stuff to a professional studio?
No. I never do that. It's everything I do is at home, and as I told you, my setup is very stripped down. It's basically just a PC and 2 monitor speakers, and that is all. I don't use any hardware at all.
And what monitors do you use?
I have some Alesis monitors. This is one thing that a lot of people ask me, what brand of monitors should I buy? Which are better? Which is good? Which is bad? I think in time your ear gets tuned to any type of monitor. Either if you use, I don't know, Genelec or Alesis or whatever monitors, in time your ear gets tuned to the sound of the monitor speakers that you use. So in the end of the day, it's not that important. The brand is not that important. It's important to spend a lot of time in your environment, your workstation or studio or whatever, and your ear will get used to the speakers, and it will sound right, for sure.
Yeah, it also takes some time to get used to the sound and to learn how to listen to the monitors.
Of course, and for example, when I go to other people's places to produce music, we finish a track, and then when I listen to it at home, there are always some things in the mixdown that I'm not happy with. Some instruments are too loud, or Some others are too silent, or the EQing is not right, because I'm not used to the environment that I have at home. This is what matters, to get used to what you have at home, to the monitors that you normally use, and this is not so important. The brand is not so important.
Ok, bueno, él tiene un home studio, en realidad, si le puedo llamar estudio, que es una habitación en donde él trabaja, tiene su computadora, tiene sus monitores, son unos Alesis, y no tiene mucho más, es todo bastante sencillo. Lo que sí recalca, a mí me parece que está bueno, es el tema de que no importa la marca que uno tenga, porque muchas veces le preguntan si es mejor Genelec, si es mejor Alesis, o qué marca comprar o qué no. Más allá de la marca, lo que él dice es que uno tiene que tomarse el tiempo para aprender a escuchar los monitores que tiene y empezar a entender el ambiente en el que está trabajando. Hay veces que le pasa que hace un track en otro estudio con otros monitores y después cuando vuelve a su casa y está trabajando nota que las cosas suenan diferentes. Entonces, más allá de la marca, tienen que enfocarse en aprender a escuchar en los monitores que tengan que usar, digamos. ¿Tienen más preguntas alguno? Okay, tell us about the last time you were here in Argentina. This year, everyone was amazed by your set, by the groove and by everything.
I was also amazed by the atmosphere and by the crowd, and yeah, it was a really good night last year, and I hope it will be at least the same thing tonight. I had a great time last year, and yeah, I hope for the best for tonight as well.
Okay, so do we. Do you have any final... Oh, I wanted to ask you this. What's your approach when making a new track? I think this will be interesting for everyone. For example, you sit down, you turn on your computer, your monitors, and then what? How do you approach the creative process?
I try to find a good kick, first of all. Just to have a kick, it probably won't be the final kick, but just to... I'm looking for a good kick drum. And then I just, normally I don't have any idea in mind. I don't have a special image in my head of what I should produce. It's just jamming. Just everything is spontaneous. I do some basic percussion groove, and then it's just jamming around, playing around. Everything is like a game and like a puzzle. It like a snowball, you know. Most of the times nothing comes out of it, but I have so many unfinished loops that sometimes I go back to, and I listen to them, let's say after a couple of days or after a couple of weeks, and if I still like the loop, then I go on with it. If not, I just leave it for maybe later or something. But basically, in the beginning, I try to find a good kick. I try to do a very basic percussion groove with some hi-hats, some claps, some other percussion elements, and then a bass line, and then it's just jamming, just playing around with the sounds, and whatever feels right to me, I keep it. Then I find something else. It's a lot of time. I just circle around my tail forever, you know.
What if you get stuck? Do you
leave
the project alone?
I get stuck a lot of times. I mean, I have a loop that I really like, but then I don't know what. There's something that it's missing, but I don't know what, and I can't find the that special thing about it, and I just leave it. Yeah, I just leave it, and in all these years, I can say something that I must tell you, that when you expect the least, then you get the the most, you know, when you just have like 2 hours before going out for a drink and you just want to kill time and what should I do, watch TV or play around, and you decide to play around instead of watching TV, and you just okay, I'll just play a little bit before going out. And when you're not so much into it, not so interested in it, and not so focused on it, that's when sometimes you get the best results, because maybe your mind is very relaxed and you don't have any expectations about it, and that's when the good things happen. But
yeah, and 2 hours later you need to go out to get a drink and you say, oh, damn it.
yeah.
Ok, bueno, estamos hablando un poco sobre el proceso, qué sé yo, a todos nos gusta saber cómo cada uno arranca los tracks, ¿no? Él por lo general arma un kick, en torno a ese buen kick arma toda una percusión, después la línea de bajo y lo sigue desde ahí. Un poco también es ver qué es lo que le llama la atención, seguir tocando, si ve que es algo que funciona lo sigue. A veces cuando es algo que no funciona tanto lo que hace es guardar el proyecto y después retomarlo al tiempo, darle otra vuelta, pero siempre, eso es algo que, por ejemplo, hay algunas personas que lo hacen, otros productores no lo hacen, y directamente si algo no funciona lo dejan y lo sacan y no lo vuelven a tocar. En el caso de él, a él le gusta volver a hacer una revisión de proyectos como para ver qué es lo que funciona. Y algo que es importante, de lo que se dio cuenta a lo largo de todos sus años como productor, que es también un consejo que les puede dar, es que cuando menos esperan de algo es cuando más obtienen. Por ejemplo, hay veces que uno tiene simplemente 2 horas para salir, antes de salir a tomar algo o de hacer algo, y dice, bueno, a ver, ¿va a ver tele o se queda haciendo música? Y se pone a hacer música y por ahí en esas 2 horas termina teniendo algo que está realmente bueno, que le gusta, que le llama la atención, y no es justamente haberse sentado a decir, bueno, me voy a poner a hacer esto y concentrarse. Entonces, eso, el consejo que les puedo dar es que mientras menos esperen de algo, a veces por ahí es cuanto más obtienen. Okay, is there any final piece of advice you could give young producers from Argentina?
The best piece of advice I can give you is just practice a lot. Just work your ass off. That's it. That's the best advice. There's no other advice, and there's no other recipe for success. Just work a lot, that's all.
Ok, bueno, finalmente el consejo que les puedo dar es que, nada, ahora es culo, siéntense, hagan música, trabajen, y que todo lo bueno viene del trabajo duro, entonces siéntanse a trabajar. ¿Tienen más preguntas alguno? Oh, besides your home studio and besides your platform, he wants to know if you're interested in analog material, in hardware.
Yes, but one of the reasons why I don't use any analog, and one of the reasons because I have such a stripped down studio, is because I'm very bad at all this technical stuff. I mean, I can hardly connect 2 CD players to a mixer and make it work. I'm very bad at this, so that's why I would probably be completely lost between cables and plugging in, plugging out, sending signal in and out, and I really suck at all this. So that's one of the reasons why I like analog. Of course, everybody likes analog, and I would love to work with analog, but maybe when I go to a studio and everything is fixed and plugged already, and I just tweak some knobs here and there and press some keys, I would love that. But I can't have that in my studio because I'm too lazy and too bad with all this technical stuff.
That's why we need everything to go wireless, right? So you don't get too many connections.
Yeah.
Bueno, respondiendo a la pregunta sobre si tenía cosas analógicas, En realidad dice que sí, que le encantan los instrumentos, le encanta todo lo que es analógico, pero que es realmente malo con las conexiones. Entonces no le gusta hacer todas las conexiones y es por eso que no lo usa. Si estuviera, cuando va a un lugar y está todo conectado ya de antemano, ahí sí se recopa y está buenísimo. Pero que bueno, justamente no lo tiene en la casa porque nunca se puso a conectar todo y dice que, o sea, prefiere conectar 2 bandejas para tocar y listo. Es así. ¿Tienen más preguntas? Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I hope it will be at least as good as last time. And I hope to see most of you tonight as well on the dance floor.
Ok, bueno, él le preguntó cuáles son sus expectativas para esta noche y sus expectativas para esta noche son que por lo menos salga como la vez anterior y que todos vayan. Ok. Más, ¿tienen?
Thank you.
Bueno, todos los que quieran ir a Input a escuchar a Mihai hoy en la noche, sí tienen tickets free como invitados del AU. Sí, así que ténganlo en mente. Bueno, Mihai, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for having
great.
me. I hope I was not too boring for you. I'm not very good at talking and taking speeches and something like this. So thank you for having the patience to listen to me for 1 hour. Thank you, guys.
Don't worry, it was great. Thank you.